Korach launches his rebellion against Moshe in this parsha. Rashi explains to us the reason why he rebelled against Moshe was because he was jealous. He was not chosen as the Nasi, and he said to himself, Moshe made this up on his own. In his attempt to get the Jewish nation to rebel with him, he set out to disprove Moshe, to prove that Moshe did not get this appointment from Hashem, that much of what Moshe was telling the Jewish people, Moshe made up on his own. To accomplish this, Rashi brings down the Medrash that he brought with him 250 people, Roshei Sanhedrin, great Torah scholars, and he stood in front of Moshe and he asked him the following question. If I have a garment that's made completely of tchelis, completely of dyed wool, and I bring this garment, am I obligated to put tzitzits on it? Moshe Rabbeinu said, you're obligated to put tzitzits on it. Korach said, how could that be? If I have a wool garment, one string alone of tchelis will fulfill my obligation of tzitzits. How is it possible that a complete garment made all of tchelis would be obligated in tzitzits? Korach began laughing together with the 250 men. They began mocking, they began scorning Moshe Rabbeinu. That started the rebellion. This Rashi is quite difficult to understand because the question doesn't sound that penetrating. It might well be that a beged, a garment that's completely made of tchelis, is obligated in tzitzits. What is the great question? And if in fact Korach is out to ask questions, there are many more profound questions that he could have asked that in fact the Gemara tells us is unanswerable. The question that he asked doesn't seem that difficult, and there are many other questions that he could have asked that are. And I believe the answer to this question is predicated on understanding bias and understanding prejudice in the human mind. And to give you an example of this, Chaim Volozhin was once asked by a Talmud the following question. This young man had left the yeshiva. He had left the yeshiva in the time of enlightenment, and he apparently went off the derech. He came back to Rav Chaim and he said he wants to do tshuva, but he has many questions. And he doesn't have the answers to these questions. Could Rav Chaim please help him with these questions? Rav Chaim Volozhin looked at this young man and said to him, tell me, these questions, did you have them before you left the yeshiva, or did they only come to you after you left the yeshiva? The young man innocently enough asked, Rebbe, what difference does it make? These are questions I have. I need the answers. Rav Chaim Volozhin said to him as follows, no. If these were questions that you had before you left the yeshiva, these are questions. For questions, I have answers. If these questions came to you after you left the yeshiva, they're not questions, they're answers. Answers have no answers. What Korach was doing was approaching Moshe not with a question, he was approaching with an answer. I'm going to disprove you. His mind was closed. He walked in with a sense of understanding. I will disprove Moshe. He explained to his people with him, I will prove to you that Moshe is making this stuff up. Watch the idiocy of what Moshe Rabbeinu is going to say. With that attitude, with that approach, it didn't matter the strength of the question, and it didn't matter the power of the answer. When a man's mind is closed, there is no amount of truth that will steer him differently. His mind is made up, nothing will change him. What Korach was doing was convincing the people, not with a question. He was coming with an answer. This was just an act of derision, an act of scorn, and that's exactly what he accomplished. And I believe this Rashi is the fundamental concept for us. If a person wants to understand the truth, he has to open his mind and ask himself, what do I believe is the truth? Forget the consequences. Forget the results. What do I honestly, earnestly think is true? Hashem created us with an honest heart. If a person approaches life that way, if a person approaches life issues that way, he'll be directed, he'll understand, he'll find the right path. If a person doesn't want to hear the truth, isn't open to it, then no convincing the world will change his mind. All the truth in the world is irrelevant. He already knows his opinion. He already knows his understanding. What a person needs to reach truth is an open mind and open understanding. When a person approaches life with that attitude, when a person approaches issues with that attitude, Hashem directs him and he finds the truth.